Hey YouTube, today I'm going to be doing deck profile on my budget Narukami deck. You guys noticed Gauntlet Buster, but I'm not using him because, like I said, this is a budget deck. So this is a really budget deck. So here it is. It's Narukami. I was running Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion, but he's really bad in Standard, so we don't run him. Instead, we run Thunderbreak Dragon, who's actually better. So 4 copies of Thunderbreak Dragon, because he has a grade 1 that can search him. So that's why I opted to run him. He's also dirt cheap, because unlike a lot of the other clans that have trial decks, Narukami's trial deck is pure garbage, really, for the most part, compared to, like, say, Deleters, or even Kagero. So, yeah, you gotta change the grade 3 lineup, and the nice thing is there's a lot of budget options for the clan, and I like the playstyle. I like how I kind of think of this guy as having like the hook ability. Basically, like they blow up the front, and then he like pulls the rear guards from the back up to the front. So I like that ability. And it's Vanguard or rear guard. And his Vanguard effect is he battles the front row. So really cool. I like that. That gives Narukami a unique identity that I feel, along with their binding, which annoys everybody except Gear Chronicle. Gear Chronicle loves Narukami, like, they really do. It's no joke. Next, 4, Land Shocker Dragon. So Land Shocker Dragon, this could really be whatever you want, or whatever you can find that's within your budget, but Land Shocker Dragon I found is the best alternative one. I mean, aside from running Vermilion, which is so counterblast heavy that it kind of wrecks the deck hard if you can't win, and usually they'll just PG him anyway. So choose one of your opponents, front row, bind it, and if it was bound, 2 of your units in the same column get +5. So he's pretty decent. Like, it's a Vanguard skill only, but you get to pick the 2 units. So it can be him and his booster, or it can be like a rear guard line, or it's usually one of the 3 lines though. So he doesn't really benefit your Excel circles, and it's a Vanguard only effect. But I do like that it's a main phase effect, which means you can use it multiple turns. And the other thing too that's worth mentioning, it is not once per turn. So you can actually use Land Shocker's effect multiple turns to power up multiple columns. So you can use him to power up the Vanguard column, then use him again to power up like a rear guard column. So pretty decent budget option, I would say. But there's a lot of choices, though, for the clan. And it's only going to get more when they get support in March. So if you're starting out in Vanguard and you want to try a budget deck, budget clan, Narukami seems to be a good one, because I see it as an interesting anti-meta clan. Along with Link Joker, I feel like Narukami, Mega Colony, but really Narukami stands out more than the others in terms of being anti-meta, because it's that one Excel clan that if it goes to Worlds and it can do decent with Gauntlet Buster Dragon, then, people will be talking about it. It'll be like that one rogue clan that showed up, did a bunch of stuff, may have not won, but it like, people did not want to face it. It's that clan. It's that clan that you just don't want to go up against. You're watching out for it. You just want to avoid it, or hope that you can avoid it as long as possible. For grade 2s, Hammer Knuckle Dragon, just a really cheap option. It's Counterblast 2 though, so just keep that in mind. But it is a main phase effect. So choose an opponent's rear guard in the front row, bind it, and this gets 5,000 power. So I just run it because I wanted to have a lot of ways of binding units. So we run him because I don't have a whole lot of other options that bind stuff. Now I was running stuff that gains power when there's a rear guard is bound, but it just wasn't consistent enough for me. So I like this guy more. Next, 4 Recklessness Dragon. So best grade 2 right now. When placed, and the nice thing about him is his trial deck cards are easy to get. When placed, Cannonballs 1, choose an opponent's rear guard in the front row and bind it. So very straightforward effect. Works on Vanguard or rear guard circle, and his rear guard circle effect is when he attacks the Vanguard, if the opponent's front row has 1 or less rear guards, he gets 3k power. So he can swing at like a 12k Vanguard without a booster if they have 1 or less rear guards. So that's pretty nice. And the other grade 2 I'm running is another trial deck card, which the trial deck only came with 3 of it. If it had 4 of it, I'd probably run 4 of it, and I'd only run 3 of the other guy. But it is an 8K body, but that doesn't really matter too much because when you play this card, you choose a rearguard in the opponent's front row, bind it, and then you bound, and then it gets 10K power. So it goes up to 18, which is very good against a Force Vanguard. So it hits the right number against Force, straight up, like when you use this effect. So that's a grade 2 lineup. They all have the bind capability. I wanted max bind. So yeah, grade 1s. They're a little bit more versatile in what they do. So starting off, we have Dragon Dancer Rai Rai. She searches Thunderbreak Dragon. So when its attack or its attack get boosted hits, check 7 and search for a Thunderbreak Dragon, add it to the hand. And if you put the card in your hand, and this is on the rearguard circle, you put this into the soul. So it's not that bad when you think about it, because the deck does Soul Blast quite a bit with this guy, for instance, and this guy. So you do want to kind of put the soul in just to, you know, have soul to use your other effects. And then we're running 4 Lightning of Hope Helena. This is your counter charger, and its Soul Blast is a counter charge. So again, this is another card that uses soul. And the deck is very counterblast heavy with stuff like Hammer Knuckle Dragon. And basically, like, everything that binds uses counterblast. So you want to run max copies of this. Basically, once per turn when an opponent's rearguard is bound, if there's no face-up in the damage zone, you Soul Blast and countercharge. So that helps the consistency running stuff like Hammer Knuckle Dragon, because he's a counterblast too. So yeah. And the nice thing about Helena is that it doesn't go away. It doesn't like go in the soul or retire to unflip, you know, like Airmo. So it's really nice. It just kind of sits there and keeps doing its thing. And then next I'm running 2 Rising Phoenix, only because I have to. This is definitely one that you would run like 3 or 4 of. It's a cool card because it comes back from the drop zone. It's a Phoenix, so it'll keep on coming back to life. So that's really cool. So it's a drop zone effect. When the opponent's rearguard is bound, you may call it to R, and if you do, this unit gets plus 3K until end of turn. So it's an 11K from the drop zone, and you can just kind of keep, if they keep blowing it up, like Kagero hates this card, but it's cool to see the effect go off. So definitely, if you run as many of these as you can, if you have them, but I only have 2, so I'm only going to run 2. Because I'm not running 4, I have space for 2 more cards, and I'm running 2 Dragon Dancer Regina. This last card can really be anything you want. I have to use this because it can go in the soul. If you've got less, if there's 1 or less rearguards in the opponent's front row, which is common because we run so many things that bind stuff from the front row during the main phase, you can put this into the soul, and 3 of your rearguards get 5K power. So very nice for the Excel clan because it helps power up your rearguards. It has to be rearguard though. It cannot power up the Vanguard. It's something to keep in mind. So that's why it functions really well as a tech choice for an Excel clan. So I like it. So I'm running 2 of it. And then the only other grade 1 I'm running, I forgot to mention, I am actually running another grade 1. I'm testing this guy out right now at 2 copies. I'm running Desert Gunner Gaibin. So at the end of the battle, your Vanguard attack, choose one of your units, and it gets 3K power. And if the opponent cannot, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand for the battle of the unit attacked. So this gives you like guard restriction capability. So depending on how this does, I've been placing this in the deck a little bit, but I haven't been able to use this guy enough. So I might actually bump up all the way up to 4, take her out, and run him at 4, and then see how it goes. But having the versatility with the 2 of them like that is kind of cool. So you have a pretty diverse lineup. And he's a 7K, so you don't really want to ride this on turn 1. So maybe 3 of him is good. Let me know in the comments what you guys think for the grade 1 lineup. I think the grade 1 lineup is pretty open. The only thing I can't do is I can't run 4 of this because I only have 2 of it. So let me know how you guys would handle like the grade 1 lineup. For the zeros, for the triggers, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm running 4 Wyvern Guard Gold. This guy also, for some reason, is kind of hard to find. So if you're going really budget, don't worry if you don't have this. Just don't run draws at all. Trust me. Run the grade 1 Central, the Dragon Dancer that draws a card and discards a card, because that'll allow you to be able to run fronts and crits together. So, but because I'm running this lineup, I can't run the front triggers. So I'm just running your standard boring, you know, plain Jane build of the 4 draws, 8 crits, and the 4 heals. So, but the thing is, Narukami is a clan that doesn't really benefit a whole lot from the fronts compared to, say, Nova Grappler or Aqua Force as an Excel clan. So running just 8 crit is fine, honestly. It hasn't really let me down at all. But yeah, I would like to try fronts. If I was going to run fronts, I would not run the draw PGs. I'd have to run grade 1 Sentinels, and then I would be running like 6 crit and 6 front, or 4 front and 8 crit, or some weird combo like that. But let me know what you guys run, if you're running the fronts, and what the lineup would be. And I might try it out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.